Welcome to Viewin' and Reviewin', where I pull older movies off the shelf, watch them, and let you know if I believe they're worth your time to watch or not. I'm Bobby T, your online video store clerk. I'll be searching through my VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray collections to find titles that I think may be interesting to review. Some will be mainstream, but there may be some obscure titles. Or maybe just seriously difficult movie to track down like this one. In today's episode, I'll be reviewing 1984's The Wildlife, written by Cameron Crowe, directed by Art Linson, and starring Chris Penn, Lea Thompson, Eric Stoltz, Ilan Mitchell-Smith, I believe is his name, and a few other surprises. Let me read you the DVD cover. From the creators of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Something Even Faster, Christopher Penn, Eric Stoltz, Lea Thompson, Jenny Wright, and Ilan Mitchell-Smith star as teens on the verge of adulthood, or so they think, until they discover just playing grown-up can be a confusing game. Older men, singles apartments, all-night parties, and falling in love bring heartbreak and hilarity. Randy Quaid makes a special appearance as a Vietnam vet who teaches one of the kids an important lesson, and Rick Moranis is a wacky nerd on the make. So take a humorous, bittersweet look at the best and worst time of everyone's life, set to an original score by Van Halen's ace guitarist, Edward Van Halen, and featuring songs by today's top rock artists. Hey man, it's casual. Well, it's casual indeed. I gotta say, I saw this in the theater in 1984, and I remember liking it a whole lot more than the film I just watched. I guess it must have been the 19-year-old me appreciating the characters back in the day, because what I have in my hand here is not the same film. Now, I love Cameron Crowe movies. I actually read the book Fast Times at Ridgemont High before loaning my copy of the book to a friend that never returned it, and now the book's worth a couple $100, but I digress. The Wildlife is more of a mindset than actually a film, unfortunately. I will say, Chris Penn was a force to be reckoned with. To have basically mini Spicoli played by Spicoli's real-life little brother was a stroke of genius, especially since Chris could act. If you really want to see Chris at this age, you should watch All the Right Moves, another film I've reviewed on this channel. But Chris's Tom Drake has all the earmarks of what brain-dead jocks were like back in the day. They partied 24/7, wanted to get laid by not only their girlfriend, but everybody else's girlfriend too, and hanging out with his buddies at a strip club. I think we all know Thomas Drake ended up a penniless alcoholic living on his parents' couch 10 years after this film ended. Now, Eric Stoltz always ended up in these pasty-bodied do-gooder roles at this time, and I never understood the draw. Now, he's a nice guy, decent actor, but he's just there. His role could have been played by 100 Hollywood teens of the day. Pick a kid in The Outsiders, and they could have been the character of Bill. Now, Lea Thompson was lovely, as always, as Bill's ex-girlfriend Jailbait, banging the predator-in-training cop character played by ultimate 80s slick sleazeball Hart Bochner of Die Hard fame. But there is a bit of an ick factor with this particular storyline, especially in today's post-Jeffrey Epstein world. Now, the ever-dependable Jenny Wright plays Chris Penn's trendy love interest, Eileen. She should have had more to do in this film, and she's chased by one of my favorite 80s comedy actors, Rick Moranis, in a criminally underused role. I mean, what is with that hair? And I have to think Eileen would kick Chris Penn to the curb within the first week of school once he tried to hook up with Anita or Sherilyn Fenn in her first cameo, or any other of a number of underclassmen girls that caught his horny fancy. I mean, the dude is insatiable. Yep, the two-time state champion wrestler or not, he's got a rough life ahead with his actions. And speaking of actions, one of the strangest, although not unappealing characters in the film is Ilan Mitchell-Smith. His Vietnam wannabe pubescent military act wore thin fairly quickly. The actor did a fine job, but his character had a serious screw loose. Sadly, for those of you too young to know, there really were kids like that in every high school across the country. Once they got into the actual military, though, they were in for a very rude awakening. But camo pants and plaid shirts were all the rage in the early to mid-'80s. Unfortunately, the kid is probably due for some serious counseling once he hits adulthood if he doesn't go into berserk mode with a semi-automatic. I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of how I feel about this whole movie. It's a time capsule of the day for sure. Just like its spirit animal, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the difference is I actually cared about the Fast Times kids. I mean, I may have known the Wildlife Kids, but most of them I didn't really like in real life. I think that's the disconnect here. Where as much as Fast Times was based in Cameron Crowe's real life accounts while going undercover at a San Fernando Valley high school, the Wildlife just feels like those kids that weren't interesting enough to tell a story about. So let's just throw them into a bunch of cliched scenarios so we can laugh at how dumb teenagers are in adult world. It just fell flat. Especially the strip club scene. I gotta say, that was pointless and unnecessary. If you wanted the R rating, they didn't need Kit and Natividad bouncing all around in a huge champagne glass when you have a perfectly adorable pre-Back to the Future Lea Thompson and equally cute Jenny Wright willing to show some skin. And that could have added to the plot. For a movie that was only released in the early days of VHS and hadn't been released onto DVD or Blu-ray until just this year, making it one of the most difficult white whales to track down, this was not what I remembered. But, oh well. So, my overall report card for The Wildlife looks like this. Does it stand the test of time? No. Sadly, as much as Fast Times at Ridgemont High is an all-time high school classic from the early 80s, this film just isn't on the same level. Not only is Jenny Wright and Rick Moranis characters so over the top with their style, it's almost like watching how aliens would try to dress in the 80s, but the situations fell flat. This is a time capsule for sure, but not for the right reasons. I'll give it a C just for the styles, and it did look like 1984. Story. It pains me to say this, but it's a D+. This is not Better Off Dead looniness that makes you want to cheer for the crazy kids. I keep bringing up Fast Times for a reason. It had a soul. This one doesn't. And I think part of the reason is I was confused as to the ages of the kids. Chris Penn in particular, he seemed to be someone who graduated a couple years ago by how he acts and how people treat him. But come to find out, at the end, he's still in high school? I mean, that one blew my mind. It's too many out of the left field moments, I think, that threw me. The cast is a good group of kids. A-, because most of them went on to many better things. It isn't really the cast's fault. The story didn't give them a whole lot to explore. Cinematography? Actually, this is where they got it right. Although it's a bit dark because so much was shot at night, I liked how they captured the feel of authentic 1984. I'd give this a B for the look of the film. The music. Okay, now the music rocked. I mean, it's solid A grade. Gotta say, it is not Top Gun Anthem-like. It wasn't going to sell a bazillion records like Flashdance did, but Eddie Van Halen got this one right. It blasted when it was needed, and that's all that mattered. So, overall, I hate to say it, but this movie is a C-. It isn't horrible, but it also isn't really that good. To have to chase this down after decades of not seeing it on DVD or Blu-ray, then to finally see the finished product, it doesn't matter if the transfer is crap. The story is too. It just isn't worth watching anymore. I'd rather watch one of the many, many better teen angst films back in the day. John Hughes films, for the most part, are superior. This one is a time capsule film and not much else. It's nice to see Chris Penn acting like his older brother as a steroided-up Jeff Spicoli, but that gets kind of old fast. As adorable as this cast is, the story just isn't worth the time anymore, especially in today's PC world where a cop having sex with an underage girl has all kinds of ooh written all over it. So here are a couple of other recommendations along the same vein. So, it's Cameron Crowe high school movie. What do you think's on the list? Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Of course, it's superior in every way except Rick Moranis' elevated hairstyle. The acting is better, the story's way better, plus it has Phoebe Cates in her red bikini. Risky business. Again, this is of roughly the same era with teens trying to survive in an adult world without having a clue about how to do it. Except this was elegant, well scripted, extremely well acted, and had a Porsche 911 doubling as a submarine. What could be more 80s than that? And Valley Girl. This is how you do it right with kids in the San Fernando Valley. This shows the city in all its grimy and mall-crazed glory. It had the styles, the teenage angst, and most of all, the Valley Girl speak. It's what a teen time capsule should be like. Well, sadly, that's it for The Wildlife. If you enjoyed this review because the movie really wasn't all that great, please be sure to click the like button below. If you want to keep up to date on my future reviews, please click on the subscribe button below. And if you want to purchase the Wildlife Blu-ray, finally, or you wish to purchase any of the other titles I've mentioned earlier, please follow the Amazon links below and I'll get a small residual if you're so inclined. If you have any suggestions for movies you'd like me to review, please leave a comment below and I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, be sure to help others in need, even if you get nothing in return. Have a great week.